ESPN is proud to present the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. The championship battle is about to be decided. The winner will be one of two men. After months of triumph and struggles, it comes down to one race. Each one knows what it takes to be a champion, but here in Las Vegas, only Lady Luck knows what's in store for these bad boys.
Two bad boys just out here making noise, looking for enlightenment and craving for excitement. Bad boys, just making noise. Two bad boys, two bad boys, two bad boys, two bad boys, two bad boys. Hey!
These two bad boys have traded the season points lead a record 11 times. Today, it's Hornaday with a slight points advantage as we come to the showdown. But he's starting 9 positions behind his rival, Jack Sprague. Both Hornaday and his team know they've got to be flawless in their performance today because a mistake could cost them the championship.
Now everywhere we go, we're gonna make our presence known. And we won't stop dancing. Bad boys, just making noise. Two bad boys.
For Jack Sprague, it was too bad in Phoenix. A 13th place finish left him 13 points behind in the championship run. But Jack has been there before. He knows how to win a championship. He took the series crown last year. He knows today he has to take control, but he also knows that, as always in Vegas, he needs luck.
Hey, 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 hey!
We're in the city that never sleeps, Las Vegas, Nevada. We've run over 4,200 miles this year, but it's going to come down to the final 250. It's the Samstown 250 here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the final round of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And it comes down to 13 points. That's the margin between Ron Hornaday, who's in the lead, over second place Jack Sprague. I don't know if we could have scripted a better scenario. We've been dreaming all year long about coming to the final round of racing action with a title at stake. I'm Marty Reed. He's Dorsey Schrader. We got what we wanted. We hope it's what you wanted too. But boy, the pressure is so thick.
The pressure is immense on these two drivers and their crews. Some of these guys didn't get much sleep last night, I guarantee you. It's not because they were in the casino pulling the slots. It's because they all think one thing. I make a mistake, our year is done.
Well, let's take a look at the tail of the tape. You know, this is a heavyweight title fight town. Well, our heavyweight bout between these two guys, and one of them is at a definite disadvantage.
You know, the most outstanding statistic there is in lap sled. Look at Ron Hornaday. He has never led a lap here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. In fact, it's the only racetrack he's never led a lap at. But he might not have to lead when he does.
Well, that's true in the championship scenarios. If he finishes second, it doesn't matter what Jack Sprague does. In fact, all he has to do is finish ahead of Jack Sprague, and Ron Hornaday clinches the championship. Other than that, well, it depends on where they finish in the overall position of things. We'll keep you posted on that as the day goes on. But as we get ready and the trucks are on the pace lap, it's now butterfly time. What's going through these guys' minds?
Well, Jack Sprague, he's got to do one thing. He has got to win this race. And I'll tell you what, he's standing in a good place to do it. Brand new track records. He sits on the pole. Ron Hornaday, on the other hand, holds a better hand of cards. He doesn't have to win. If Jack wins this race, he comes in second. He still clinches the championship. So he might be conservative. He might sit back, keep his truck out of trouble all day, wait for the end, and race Jack to the finish. Or maybe he feels lucky, wants to roll the dice and win from the get-go. I don't know.
Well, there are 38 other trucks that want to win this race because it's the season ender for them as well. We've had 12 different winners in the last 12 races, so that's not unheard of. Let's take a look at our starting grid. We've already talked about Jack Sprague and where Ron Hornaday is, first and 10th. But our Rookie of the Year championship chase is in row number 3.
Yeah, look at 5th and 6th. Greg Biffle, Andy Houston. They are the Rookie of the Year candidates, and they are exactly 1 point apart today.
Taking a look down there at number 15, Kevin Harvick. He won the Winston West race just yesterday. Then as you look down a little further, Randy Tolsma in the 24th starting position. He has had an injured wrist from an accident in practice, says it's going to be okay. As we look down a little bit further, we find Tommy Hubert, who was a second in the Winston West race last night, and also Brendan Gaughan, who was 5th.
Yeah, and look at the 26th position back there. You'll see the Modified Tour champion, Mike Stefanik, is in this race as well.
And also, as we mentioned, you got Boris Said in one of the provisional positions in position number 36 because he had a problem in qualifying, spun the truck and is starting near the back of the field. Take a look at the race analysis, 167 laps, but we should point out that we have got a lot of clouds, rain off to the west, and heavy, heavy winds, and all this is going to play a factor.
Yeah, look at the 160 mile per hour average speed. We've got winds here of 50 knots. It's going to be really something. Riding on Boris Sed's car, that is the Federated Auto Parts Ford. He's one of our, here's the 66. That is Mike Stefanik, Carlin Burners and Controls Ford. Looking back further forward, there's Butch Miller there in the Dana Corporation Dodge. Then we see Dennis Setzer. He's in the Mopar Dodge. Got a lot of onboard cars today. We're looking at the 19 there. That's Tony Raines in the Pennzoil Ford. And there is Ron Hornaday, the Napa Brake Chevrolet. Last but not least, though, it's actually Greg Biffle right there. Candidate for Rookie of the Year, Granger Ford. And then we have, last but not least, Mike Bliss with the TM ASA Ford. We got him from the front to the back, Marty.
Final race of the year in 250 miles. We'll finally know who's going to win the championship here for 1998. Will it be Jack Sprague or will it be Ron Hornaday? Green flag flies. We're underway.
Unbelievable drafting going to go on today at 161 miles an hour. Actually 180 down in turn one, and the wind is gusty, like I said.
Turn 3. Now, this is where we've noticed in the morning practice those 40-mile-an-hour winds were really buffeting the trucks.
Well, what's happening is the wind's coming from turn 1 side. When you come off turn 4 here, you pick up a huge push. It pushes on the front of the car, and the thing heads out, or the truck heads right toward the wall. We saw right there. One of the trucks gets very close to that.
Leading lap number 1, Jack Sprague. Right behind him, Jay Sauter. And there you see Ron Hornaday as we go on board. He's following Andy Houston. He's moved into 7th place.
Well, on the one end of the racetrack, they're tight, but up here in turns 1 and 2, the wind gets in the back, hits you right on the spoiler, on the quarter panel, and a lot of guys in practice said they were getting some very, very big moments off that thing.
Hornaday trying to get underneath Ron Barfield and follow Andy Houston. He does. Meanwhile, Mike Bliss is in 3rd place, and he is trying to reel in the front, too.
Remember, I was talking about before, drafting going to be a big thing. You have to have a teammate here today because at 160 miles an hour in this big wind we're talking about, you need to have somebody with you to break through.
Hornaday is pulled back underneath behind Andy Houston. Seems like he's having a hard time deciding which one of those guys he wants to follow, Houston or Barfield.
Yeah, he's gone from the bottom lane to the top lane. He's just trying, I would think, trying to find a comfortable place to ride where his truck wants to work really well, where he's not wearing his tires out.
Rick DeBrule has more on what the winds are like down trackside. Rick?
Well, just talking with the different drivers, everybody's got a different approach to it. Most of the drivers say, well, it makes the truck pretty unstable in certain places, but they just have to live with it. Talking with Greg Biffle, he says it's 150 RPM difference when you're going against the wind versus with the wind. So it's really making a big difference. It's going to make a huge difference in the strategy of this race. If it affects the fuel mileage, these guys are going to calculate that in, and right now, they don't really know how to calculate it in.
Yeah, Rick makes a good point there. We figured this would definitely be a 2-stop race, but now there are some people saying you may have to make it a 3-stop race.
Well, the wind is killing the gas mileage, that's for sure. That's another reason to team up with someone and try to get that mileage back up, because these guys are going to be down maybe 5 to 10 laps from where their fuel window would have been had it not been this wind.
Jay Sauter is closing in on Jack Sprague. This is the 13th race that Sprague has now led, and right behind Sauter, the 61 truck, and it looks like Blake Bainbridge is heading into the pits. Looks like he also had a little bit of contact with the wall. This 19-year-old had qualified 8th, a great start for him, but it's not going to be the kind of finish, I think, that he was looking for.
And I believe it was Blake that I saw get high in the corner the last time as well. It was one of those PWI cars.
Got a crash in turn 4 as the lead group goes on by. That's Mike Stefanik as he has made contact with the wall.
Yep, and that could be as a result of the wind. We don't know for sure.
The yellow is out. Stefanik is still under power.
I couldn't see. Did you hit anything?
That's the crew.
No, I didn't hit anything. Yeah, it looks like you escaped pretty good.
So according to the crew, it sounds like he missed contact with the wall. Let's take a look.
Oh, look how thick it is down there. As Boris said, right behind. There's the car spinning. We didn't see what caused it. I saw something, though, while we were riding on board with Mike Stefanik, and that was the camera shaking all around. Now he has 4 flat-spotted tires, and you can sit right there bouncing around a little bit.
We're going to the longest line. If you can get in.
Well, we're going to take a break here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Don't go away. There's still a lot to be decided. The Sam's Town 250. Today's Speed World presentation is being brought to you by the new Dodge. It's about change. Las Vegas Motor Speedway, we're under yellow. Marty Reed along with Dorsey Schrader, Rick DeBrule, and Gary Gerald down the pits. Here's the reason why.
Riding on board with Boris said right there. Look, 2 rows up. That is Mike Stefanik about down on the bottom. We talked about the wind. The car gets loose, truck gets turned sideways right there. Everybody does a good job to miss it. I think that was probably a result of a gust of wind hitting the back of that car coming off of turn 4 there.
And that is Mike Stefanik now pulling off of pit lane after picking up some fresh rubber. And now NASCAR has decided, we thought we were going to go green this last time by, but now we will do one more lap. And now the 84 truck has pulled in. That is Randy Renfro. And I don't know exactly, oh, they're putting a turn a wedge in, and they are going to send him back out.
Well, I tell you, this wind, they didn't get to do much. A bunch of practice this morning. A half-hour practice got cut short because of a blown motor and an accident. And because of that, these guys don't have much information on the way this racetrack's going to be. Plus, that was early this morning, and this is later in the afternoon.
Our championship coverage continues next week. The Busch Series will crown its champion. Of course, all Dale Earnhardt Jr. has to do is basically start, but it's still going to be a great race. 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Then Sunday, November 22nd, we'll crown champions in the NASCAR Dash Series. That's noon on ESPN2. And at 7:30 Eastern time on the Deuce, the All-Pro Series. Ron Hornaday in 7th, and Gary Gerald's in his pits. Gary?
Interesting, in talking with the team and with Hornaday just as he got into the truck and got ready to accept the green flag. We were asking about race strategy and pressure, and he said it was a lot better now than it was 2 years ago. Having been through and won a championship in '96, paying off. He just said, we are ready to go racing. But believe me, there's a lot of tension. Ready for green, I think, Marty.
And we're back underway, Gary, as Jack Sprague picks up right where he left off. There's Greg Biffle going around the 61 truck, which is a lap down. Blake is already 1 lap down here in that spin that he had a little bit earlier in the contact. One other finishing point as these guys continue to go around. The reason he was so nervous about that championship in '96, get Dale Earnhardt getting in his ear and saying, it's all up to you, buddy.
Yeah, and Dale Earnhardt will be getting in his ear tonight, too, if he doesn't have a good day, I'll tell you that for sure, because championships mean it all to your sponsor, to the manufacturer, etc. So it's, he's taking it lightly, but I bet you his heart's pounding him.
On board with Mike Bliss, who is currently running in 3rd place, looking back at Greg Biffle. The interesting thing about Biffle, talking to him before the race this weekend, he has really fallen in love with the super speedway, and until this year, he never really drove them.
Yeah, and he's done a really good job, you know, although he has not yet won a race. He's leading candidate by 1 point in the Rookie of the Year battle and has had some really outstanding drives this season.
Getting a little high through 4. You wonder if that's the wind there?
Well, that's what they were talking about. They get a gust off the tail of 4 when they get in there. It hits them on the quarter panel, and it tends to loosen the truck versus get a thing pushing up the hill.
So right now, we should update you. Ron Hornaday has moved into 6th place, as you see the battle a little bit further back. 11th and 12th right now we're looking at. Uh-oh, and now look at Jay Sauter. As we were checking in the further back in the pack, he has gotten around Jack Sprague, taking the lead. So Jay Sauter, who has 1 win to his credit.
Barfield got loosened up back there, too, and almost had contact right there. He was giving a run going. In fact, he's still got a run going on Hornaday, on the outside of Hornaday there, the 35.
Hornaday underneath him. Can he complete the pass? Heading down into turn number 1. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Andy Houston right behind him in the 60 truck, knocking on the door, waiting for both of them to make a slip.
Now, one thing that NASCAR found out in the wind tunnel at these high-speed racetracks like this is a lot of wind, instead of going over the front of the truck, dumps off the sides. So when you're running side by side, it feels like someone leaning on you, pushes you up to the side, and then we have these wind gusts to counter with, too. So I don't know that you'd be wanting to run side by side as much as running like these two guys are nose to tail.
Rick DeBrule has more on Jay Sauter. Rick?
Well, I want to talk about different approaches in the way you want to handle the wind. Mentioned earlier, with Jack Sprague, they decided to go with the setup they had from yesterday. Sauter, on the other hand, talked to him just before the race, they changed gearing specifically because of the fact that when they're running into the wind, they got to need a little bit more to do it. So as a result, they changed it. They're running a slightly different setup in the transmission, hoping that'll do it.
Well, Mike Bliss has just moved Jack Sprague back, and Sprague is slipping even further. Here comes Biffle on the outside, Hornaday behind him.
Well, I tell you what, this is exactly what Hornaday wants to see. He wants to see and hope and think that Jack Sprague's having trouble, because that truck in qualifying was unbelievably quick, and now it doesn't look so. Now, Jack, on the other hand, might be saying, hey, I don't like the way things are. I don't want to run this hard this early, and he might just be conserving a little bit.
Mike Bliss has taken the lead with an outside pass. He said that he wanted to win this race more than those two guys, Sprague and Hornaday, would want to win the championship because he's looking for a new job.
Well, you talk about the other 38 guys in the race. Look at the two right there in front of you. Biffle has never won a race. He wants to win a race. And, of course, Mike Bliss, his last race possibly with this team, he wants to win this race as well.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned possibly as we look at Jack Sprague and Ron Hornaday. Bliss has gone back into the running for the number 2 ride that he's currently in.
Yeah, I have heard the rumor. There's a lot of rumors in the pit area about drivers going here, drivers going there. And I think that if he's going back in that car, he's got to make a decision. And the decision that might be made here today on how he does.
Well, Jimmy Smith, the owner of that Ultra Wheels number 2 Ford, and Sprague slipping back even further. In fact, Hornaday is going on the high side. Jack Sprague may have a problem. Could be tight. And boy, look at Andy Houston in the number 60 also going by. He is hung out to dry.
That truck was really twitching through the last 2 corners. It was really moving around at the bottom of the racetrack. He went all the way onto the apron right there. I think that he might, in fact, have a problem.
Well, if the race finished right now, you're on board with the champion. But it's a long way from being over. Stay with us. We're at the Samtown 250. Back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a reminder for all you Winston Cup fans, we will keep you updated on the Atlanta situation. They are still under a rain delay. Looking at our battle here, Mike Bliss is out front. Ron Hornaday, while we were in commercial, has moved into second place. And Jack Sprague finds himself further back in a dogfight with Andy Houston for the 6th spot.
Well, I said at the beginning of the show that if Ron Hornaday felt really lucky today, he could roll those dice, go for the win. His truck right now appears to be the fastest truck on the racetrack. He's come from the middle and is really going up there now.
Let's find out what's going on with that 24 truck. Rick?
I think the key word here is mystery. We don't really know what's going on. Jack Sprague doesn't talk a lot on the radio anyway, and so far he has not radioed back to the crew that there is any kind of a problem. As far as they know, he's not having any. It's just one of those, shall we say, mid-race adjustments.
Mid-race adjustment.
Not sure about that myself. I can tell you one thing. When the wind gusts like this, it's really hard sometimes to feel if you've got a cut-down tire. I said before that it looked like Jack's car was wiggling in the middle of the corner. He could have been getting hit in the side with wind gusts, and he might be playing very conservative, making sure there's not a tire cut-down.
You can see that if the race ended right now, Sprague would lose the title by 33 points. He came in just 13 markers behind. And look at Hornaday. He and Mike Bliss almost nose to tail for the lead.
If he comes off a corner any harder than that, it won't be nose to tail for long, because I tell you what, he rocketed off that corner, Hornaday did.
The 84 truck of Randy Renfro as they went blistering by him. He looks to be off the pace and heading for pit lane. And there's more news from Ron Hornaday's pitch. Gary Gerald.
Obviously watching him very closely as he puts the pressure on Mike Bliss, headed for turns 3 and 4. As he made the move to get up into second, one of the crewmen just sidled over and said, now you know why we call him the Bulldog. He's tenacious as can be. He's got the championship experience. He was the underdog because of the great success Sprague had here at Las Vegas. But right now he's knocking on that door as he chases the leader into turn 2.
And Greg Biffle right behind Hornaday. Great 3-truck battle here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Remember how I said at the beginning that this is the only racetrack Ron Hornaday has not let a lap on? I think he's fixing to change that.
Mike Bliss. He has led 11 races so far this season. Whoa, he is getting, that's 2 laps in a row. We've seen him get a little high coming out of 4.
Yeah, he's getting a little bit of picture. Saying on on the radio. You hear him right there that he's getting tight coming off 3 and 4. That was a good observation by you, Marty, is that truck, as it hits the wind into its nose, it pushes up the hill. He's not liking that.
And while all this has been going on, Jack Sprague is getting his truck dialed back in. He has moved into 4th. He has gotten around Jay Sauter. So maybe they were letting the truck settle down a little bit. Maybe it's just unstable when it's side by side.
Well, that's what we talked about with this air dumping off the front of these trucks and out to the side. You get a bunch of them side by side and this wind gusting. It's really hard to feel the thing. Look at here. Here comes Hornaday.
Coming to the line. He has
led the lap.
So Ron Hornaday has taken him 3 years, but he has led his first lap at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And I guarantee you, he knows it.
Boy, he drove it down on the apron. He had left side tires all the way on the bottom down there, and the truck stuck.
Maybe he has found something that the other guys wish they had. Ron Hornaday from 10th to 1st as already. Look at Greg Biffle also looking underneath. And remember, that 2 truck of Mike Bliss is tight.
Ooh,
they
yeah.
almost touched.
It was tight. You could see through the middle of the corner. Mike Bliss was trying to keep it down on the racetrack. It wouldn't do it.
That's all happened, Joe.
You hear him talking right there that he got the air taken off the back. It wiggled him, and that he got the pass. Biffle makes that pass right there and makes it stick.
On board with Mike Bliss as he's now in 3rd place trying to reel in the Granger Ford of Greg Biffle. Now watch going through here. Maybe we'll get a sense of just how tight it really is.
Well, right now, you're going to look up there. You know, Biffle's right on there. Look at that. Look at the push. Look how you saw Bliss head up the racetrack. He couldn't stay on the same line that the Granger truck did. And there you hear Tom telling his crew chief that it is, in fact, very, very tight there. As you look at the leader, Ron Hornaday, now setting sail, leaving out into the dust.
Hornaday has now led in 18 races in 1998. He's led more races, more laps, more miles than anyone else. And down in his pit, Fred Graves with Gary Gerald.
Fred Graves, tell us about the strategy as you approach this race, because it looks like everything is played into your hands perfectly.
Well, I thought Ron was going to draft behind Mike Bliss for a while to save gas, but apparently he was too impatient, so he's gone to the front. He's got a little more gear in the truck, and I think we can break away from the draft for that gear. We just got to make sure we don't burn too much gas doing it.
Do you want to break away, or are you more concerned about that fuel mileage?
Well, it all depends on how the cautions fall today. We don't know. We're going to play it out and see.
All right, we'll wait with you. Thank you.
We're working lap 28. If they can make it, you know, relatively past lap 55, he's okay. But everybody's wondering if they can go that far. Because of the wind, it has really slowed things down. Stay with us. We've got a lot more racing going on. Ron Hornaday's out in front at the Sam's Town 250.
Well, the good news is it stopped raining. The bad news, we have a very wet racetrack, but as you can see, the track drawing operations have resumed here, and we still hope we can get this Napa 500 completed sometime this evening. We will continue to update you throughout the evening here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Right now, let's go back to Las Vegas and Marty Reed.
The yellow is out at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and everyone is coming out, and Greg Biffle is your new leader. At least he is until the pit stops. The yellow was brought out by Tammy Jo Kirk, as it appears she lost a left rear tire, but everyone except some of the lap vehicles are staying on. Gary Gerald is stationed in the number 16 pit of Ron Hornaday. He's coming your way, Gary.
We watch over the wall. The crew poised, ready to pounce. They pounce as the Napa Brakes Craftsman Chevy hits the mark. It'll be 2 right side tires. This is the first time now for all these teams to be tested. Oh, tire gets hit by a truck coming in. It was knocked out of the hands of the carrier on Hornaday. It was hit by Jimmy Hensley. Everything else Rick DeBrule.
Well, Jack Sprague did something very interesting. They changed left side tires. They didn't go for right side. They changed left side. Interesting, Dennis Conner wasn't even originally planning to bring him in. He threw his strategy out the window when he saw everybody else coming in. But he's doing it a little bit differently with those left side tires.
And guys, that pit stop, that mistake with the contact with the tire, very costly, as Jack Sprague has gotten around Ron Hornaday in the pits. We talked about the pressure that all these guys were feeling. We just saw dose number 1.
Yeah, for sure. And luckily for these guys, it's early in the race. It wasn't a huge, catastrophic mistake. But that kind of thing at the end of this race will take you out of the championship. One guy who did not have a bad pit stop was the guy you're looking at right here. Greg Biffle, the 50 truck, had a great pit stop.
So Greg Biffle out in front, and if you were wondering what happened and how he got the lead, this was right before the yellow came out.
We look at Biffle down really low in the corner. Hornaday seems to be pushing. Truck headed up. In fact, you see it way up by the wall right there. Biffle had more grip on the bottom and was able to drive right by.
So that's how Biffle got the lead. His pit crew maintained that lead for him. Jack Sprague is in second place. Ron Hornaday is in fifth. Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Well, Dennis Conner right now in conversation with his driver, Jack Sprague. Let's talk about your strategy. You brought Jack in. You changed left side tires. Why?
Well, like I explained to you earlier, the left sides were kind of marginal on making it all the way, and we know what we got to do with the rights. Had we put rights on right now, I think we'd have been out of right side tires at the end of the race, and Jack I was thinking about it. Jack suggested on the radio putting lefts on right now, so we should be able to go the rest of the way on the left side tires and just worry about putting rights on all day long and have good right side tires the rest of the way.
Making plans for the whole race down here.
Interesting strategy. Dennis Conner knows his business. Greg Biffle, our fifth leader today, and I have a feeling there's going to be a few more. Stay with us. We're at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Back at the Sam's Town 250 for all you Winston Cup fans. We can update you. It is still in a rain delay at Atlanta. We'll keep you posted if it changes. Meanwhile, here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, we're about to go green, working lap number 34, and Greg Biffle is your race leader. Fifth different leader today. Jack Sprague is second. Ron Hornaday is in fifth. Green flag flies. We're underway. And we talked a little bit about these cold temperatures affecting these motors.
Motors and tires. Some of these guys took fresh tires, and it's only about 50 degrees outside, wind blowing like crazy. So you have to watch these first couple of laps because you don't know what these trucks are going to do.
Everybody pretty much lockstep through turns 1 and 2. Greg Biffle gets a good start. Hornaday still back there trying to find his drafting partner. Looks like it's going to be Rains for the time being.
Now, you know, these crew guys will be down there. They'll be looking at what fuel mileage they did get. They'll be looking at the wear. We looked at the tire strategy, pulling 2 lefts on. That's probably a real smart thing to do. But that is really the first data that they've been able to get out of this racetrack.
Greg Biffle in front as we go on board of the Granger Ford. You look back at Jack Sprague, and boy, what interesting strategy by Dennis Conner. And whoa, the Ford goes high. Biffle's got a problem. Here comes, and there goes Jack Sprague.
Yep, Sprague took advantage of that. He moved around the back there a couple of times. And you saw Mike Bliss tried to get underneath the Granger Ford as well, and thought better of it.
Boy, and it looks like he's high again, and here comes Mike Bliss underneath. Ron Hornaday, meanwhile, got loose in one of the corners. The wind's still a factor. He has lost about 2, maybe 3 positions.
And that is what I was talking about with these temperatures. These first couple laps on the 2 tires that they took on are going to be a little bit dicey because it's so doggone cold out there.
You look at the number 2 of Mike Bliss. We're eavesdropping on his spotter communication. Greg Biffle still in front of him.
This is going to get dicey. Look at Bliss's car moving around. Look at the front of that truck as it goes back and forth. That's that wind dumping off of the back of the Granger Ford there at Biffle that's moving that truck around.
Boy, Jack Sprague has opened up about 5 truck lengths over Greg Biffle. You can see the margin all the way back to third as we're on board with Mike Bliss.
And Bliss still has the push. You saw the thing go up the racetrack right there when he got out of the throttle, picked the throttle up again, and they headed straight up the hill.
The ebb and flow for Jack Sprague. Look at this. He was first at the beginning of the race. By lap 19, he had fallen back. Now he's back up front, and Ron Hornaday is now in 8th after getting very loose through turns 4. Let's go back. We can show you exactly what happened.
Well, he works the outside right there of Ron Barfield, and all there was the twitch right there. In fact, it was a good save as he had to recorrect that truck's front end a couple different times. And right there, Joe Ruttman is right underneath him, too, so it got really tight for a moment.
So Hornaday finds himself out there right now without a drafting partner and wondering, well, now I got to work again to get back up and catch Sprague.
And look here. Here's Boris said, who started all the way at the back after a big lurid spin. He had qualifying. He had to take a provisional to get in. He was 38, I guess 38 before he started that thing. But he's coming through the field pretty quick now.
As they come across the stripe, Jack Sprague still out in front. A field rundown in the upper left of your screen. After 39 laps, 167 make up the distance. But remember, we do have rain off to the west of us, and everybody's going to keep an eye on lap 84, the halfway point. Mike Bliss has reeled Jack Sprague back in. Looks like we may have another battle for the lead. Ever since the NASCAR has gone to hot pit stops, the competition in this Craftsman Truck Series has been so much better, and it's evident by the 12 different winners in 12 races.
And look at Bliss head up that racetrack. That thing's still tight as can be. As he gets in there, he can't hold it down. And if he keeps that attitude going up, right behind him there is, of course, the Granger truck, which is going to stick his nose right underneath and mess up that whole situation even further.
Our championship update, if the race ended right now, this is the third time it's changed. It would be Jack Sprague over Ron Hornaday. Hornaday's out in front. That's the view that Hornaday has. He can't see Sprague closely enough. We have more from the Samstown 250 right after this. They are still in a rain delay at Atlanta Motor Speedway. For you Winston Cup fans, we'll keep you posted if it does change. Welcome back here to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. They're down on the apron. We have got at least 8 trucks in this pack.
This pack of trucks here has been messing up each other's air. They've been pushing, bumping each other, doing everything they can do. They were on the apron 4 wide there a minute ago. I couldn't believe it. Kevin Harvick on the apron trying to make a pass.
Up front, Jack Sprague is in control. Ron Hornaday has fought his way back to 4th after being as far back as 8th. You're on board with Tony Raines. He started 17th. He has moved up to 9th. It's about to take a position. Jimmy Hensley says, thanks, Jim.
Yeah, he's underneath Jimmy Hensley, but I don't think he took the position. As we see right there, Jimmy says, no, you don't either. I'll stick right up here. They've been side by side like that for the last 3 or 4 laps. Unbelievable race going right now.
Gary Gerald has more on Tony Raines.
We've been keeping an eye on him, Marty, and it's interesting. He started 17th in that Pennzoil Ford. He came in on that pit stop in 10th, worked his way immediately into 6th with some good pit service, and then, as you mentioned, how quickly things change. He got one of those big shuffles. He went back to 12th or 13th, and I think the last time he came by us in 10th place.
He just got passed for Kevin Harvick, and that was for positions. This is for the race lead. Mike Bliss is underneath Jack Sprague. Has the push returned in Sprague's truck?
Well, you saw right there, Jack gave him plenty of room in the corner there. Mike Bliss's truck has been pushing pretty hard, but it didn't do it that time.
And look back at this battle. Jimmy Hensley's now under attack from Tony Roper. Meanwhile, Sprague's going to lose another position up front. That's Greg Biffle going around.
Boy, we got fights everywhere, front to back.
Let's go down to Rick DeBrule. He's got more on Jack Sprague.
Jack Sprague not talking a lot on the radio, but before the pit stops, he was telling his crew that it felt loose going into the turn and just a tick tight coming out of the turn. After the pit stops, he has not said that that's changed at all. So, like any race car driver, it's never perfect. But the truck right now is about where he wants it to be if he can just get that little handling problem solved.
Thanks, Rick. We should update Scott Hansen, who qualified 35th in the field. Looks like he may be our first retiree. He is behind the wall right now. Meanwhile, you see the battle for the top 3 positions. Mike Bliss right ahead of Greg Biffle and Jack Sprague in 3rd. It's Ron Hornaday further back in 4th. In fact, he's about, maybe 12 truck lengths back. There he is, way off into the distance as we go on board with Biffle.
Boy, look how low right there. Sprague's able to put his truck to 24 with two of the tires all the way on the apron. Didn't wiggle it, didn't get it loose a bit.
Greg Biffle flying down the backstretch. Speaking of flying, he has got about 30 hours in as he's trying to get his private pilot's license. And I don't know, he's planning on flying to some of the races next year. Take a look at the race summary. Find your favorite driver after 50 laps of 167. Let's go to Greg Biffle's pit. That's where we find Rick.
Well, I want to talk about Greg Biffle. Friday, he hated his truck. He thought it was terrible. It was everything he could do to get through the turns here. They made some changes for Saturday. Suddenly, he was in love. He feels he has the fastest truck out there this weekend. Before the race this morning, he was very confident that he can move to the front and he can win this thing and get that first victory that has eluded him this year.
Well, just to add to that, remember in qualifying, he broke the locker in the differential in the first lap, and he still qualified 5th.
Yeah, that's amazing, too. That just means he had a lot of rear bite. That's what that means, because if you break that locker, it actually loosens the rear end up to where you can go quicker in the straightaways, but the corner speeds usually fall off. So that was an amazing run in its own right.
Mike Bliss is our leader. And you can see the margin there. It's about 0.6 of a second. We've got a break, but don't go away. We've had 6 different lead changes so far. I think there's more to come.
The situation is much the same here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, as there is no rain, but the track continues to be wet. The jet dryers and the trucks, however, continue to try to do their thing and get this track in shape. We still are awaiting this rain situation that we have had for nearly all day. Now back to Las Vegas.
Back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, I'm Marty Reed, along with Dorsey Schrader, Rick DeBrule, and Gary Gerald patrolling the pits. We've got 40-mile-an-hour winds, but it's not slowing these guys down here at Sam's Town 250. As Mike Bliss is in front of Jack Sprague and Greg Biffle. Ron Hornaday is 4th. And that sets the tone for the championship chase. Biffle also in front of his Cintas Rookie of the Year challenger, Andy Houston, who is running in 5th. And there you get a great look at Jack Sprague.
Sprague running very safely all by himself right there, but I guarantee you he wants to win this race. He needs to win this race instead of just wanting to. But he was fighting with Biffle for quite a while. Once he got around, it looks now like his truck is performing a little bit better. I don't think the truck of Jack Sprague likes to be in close proximity with other trucks. It seems like it handles worse when he's out in a group than when he gets out by himself like this.
We get a look at Greg Biffle for a second there as he has dropped back a little bit further. The margin now between Bliss and Sprague is about 3/4 of a second. And then look at the margin all the way back to 4th with Ron Hornaday, Andy Houston, and Ron Barfield.
These 3 trucks were battling so hard with themselves, and they got loosened up a couple times while we were away. And because of that, they've lost the gap pit leaders. They need to now get back like they are in single file and try to run down the deficit.
3 abreast on the outside. That's Kevin Harvick. You get very bold when you win a championship. He did that yesterday. That's a battle for 12th. He won that Winston West crown. And congratulations to Kevin on that title chase. You're on board with Dennis Setzer in the Mopar Dodge. Look at them side by side for the position.
I'll tell you what, I've seen Harvick from all the way to the apron, from all the way to the wall there, and he's all over the racetrack. He loses some ground in the middle of that corner right there. 67, let's give a call to him right there. That's Chuck Bound on a one-up with this truck. He's trying to get back in this thing. He's having a good day today.
Bound doing very well on the inside of Kevin Harvick. And right behind them is Jimmy Hensley and another of the Dodge contingent. That's 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th on the racetrack.
Jimmy Hensley's got the best seat in the house today. I don't know if he thinks it that way, especially when these trucks are wiggling around in front of him. But he's getting a good show. I know he'd like to be in front of it today.
Chuck Bound, the Portland, Oregon resident, gets around Kevin Harvick. Let's take that. Ron Hornaday, he's got a battle going on as he is in 4th, looking to get to 3rd. Look what's going on behind him. That is Barfield on the left of your picture. Andy Houston down low.
I tell you what, Ron Barfield has been very, very aggressive today, but we miss it every once in a while. Every once in a while will get where he wants to go and get loose, or something will happen where he'll have to check up, and he's dropped back. Now he charges right back up to the front again. He is having a whale of a day.
Well, remember, Andy Houston, that 3rd truck on your screen there, in the number 60, he's in a rookie battle with Greg Biffle. Now, he must finish ahead of Biffle to have any chance of winning that championship. Don't ask me to figure out and explain all the points. It's easier to do your income taxes. But we will know the difference by the end of the race. It is a 1-point margin coming in to today's race, but it's still not that easy to figure out.
Well, I was always pretty bad at math. I just figured, heck with it, go out there and win the race, and then you work it out after that.
More on Andy Houston from Rick DeBrule.
Well, no matter what happens this weekend, Andy Houston's going to win something. That's because yesterday he competed in the Winston West race. He won the race, although Harvick won the championship. But the reason he was doing it was to get more seat time on the track this weekend. In fact, his husband, Greg Biffle, the guy who was going against him in the rookie championship, yesterday he was saying, boy, I wish I'd thought of that.
Thanks, Rick. A note just passed along to us that Bobby Dotter Jr. has climbed into the 08 that Sammy Potashnik started. Don't know the exact reason why. We'll try and get more on that. But there you see Andy Houston, and he's right where he started, trying to track down Ron Hornaday.
That's not a bad place to be for Andy Houston, believe it or not. It's good. It looks like those 2 trucks work well together. Behind them, though, you know, you look back to Ron Barfield, and he's getting hammered on big time by Joe Rutten, and those 2 trucks don't look happy at all together.
Barfield yesterday in practice during the same time frame, and look at the difference in the points championship right now. Hornaday would win by 3, and that's because of the positions of where the two contenders are. Sprague is second, Hornaday is fourth. That gives you an idea just how close this championship battle really is. But Barfield, gotta tell you, yesterday he was flying around here. Then in this morning's practice, he couldn't find his way around, but it looks like he's got the combination back. Here's our race leader, Mike Bliss, and he has opened up a sizable margin as he's looking to make it victory number 3 on 1998 at the Samstown 250. For you Winston Cup fans, they are trying to drive the track right now at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll keep you updated as what is going on in Atlanta. Here in Las Vegas, there's your race leader, Mike Bliss. Tonight, live at 8:15 Eastern on ESPN, Sunday Night Football, Tennessee versus Tampa Bay. And then Monday night on ABC Sports, Monday Night Football live at 8 Eastern, it's Green Bay against Pittsburgh. Brett Favre leads the Packers as they take on the Steelers. 6 different leaders. You're looking at the current version. His name is Mike Bliss. His most recent win came back at Phoenix, and it was very emotional for him. He was planning on leaving the team, although now we hear word that he is one of 3 drivers still under consideration to be back in that truck. The other 2 names that we hear circulating is Tony Raines, who's currently in the 19, and Mike Wallace, who's in the 52 of Kenny Schrader's. And then let's talk about the number 2 truck some more. Barry Dotz is down in the pits. He's the crew chief on that 2 truck.
Indeed, we want to talk about exactly how Mike Bliss is doing on the track. And the big question is, how's the wind treating him? Because you say it's been an adventure so far.
Yeah, he's, ASC4 is pretty good. 1 and 2 is really good. 3 and 4, we're driving back into the wind. There's about a 40-mile-an-hour wind. It's making the nose lift a little bit. But it's, I think it's probably the same problem for everybody. Goodyear's got an excellent tire. I was a little bit surprised at the right side wear with only 28 laps on that first set, so we'll probably go right side one more time.
Is it better to be running up front by yourself, or should he sit back and get a draft from somebody?
I don't think he's running that hard. We're awful strong on these speedways, and it's nice to be up front.
Well, Mike Bliss led 85 laps at Las Vegas Motor Speedway last year and finished 5th, so it's only that last one that counts, as we always say.
And Barry Dodson, probably one of the most knowledgeable of all crew chiefs in this whole thing. Meanwhile, look back here is Ron Hornaday, and that is our points leader.
Ron Hornaday is 4th overall on the track. Take a look, as this is what happened just a little bit ago.
Oh, he's in the gray area, and look at that. That's getting pretty close up to the wall right there, and that could be all the wind. We heard right there where Barry Dodson said that the wind was getting under, lifting the nose. That creates it to be tight, and that push happens. Once it happens, you're in a little bit of a trouble. Another 6-8 inches, and we would have had some contact there. That's something Ron Hornaday definitely doesn't need today.
There is the top 5 after 71 of 167 laps as we run down through it. And that position right now would give Ron Hornaday the championship in what has been a very exciting battle. Here's a battle for 11th on the racetrack. That's Tony Roper in the 55. Right behind him is Chuck Bound, and Mike Wallace is also in this mix.
Tell you what, we didn't talk about much about it. Being the last race of the year, there's a lot of driving contracts that are not signed, not just these guys in the very front, but there's a lot of drivers here that do not have a signed contract, and how they do in this race today sticks with them all the way through the winter, and I mean, that's a big point.
And Dennis Setzer is slowing, and he is getting passed by 3 of those vehicles, including one of those guys that's looking for a drive next year, Tony Roper. He wants to come back with that 55 Ice House Beer team, but his final decision has not been made, but he's doing a great job. He's come from 30th, and right now he is in 11th position.
Well, he hasn't been happy with the truck all weekend long. They've tried everything, but I'll tell you, in respect to the crew chiefs and drivers, every time they get to the racetrack, it's a different racetrack. It's been everything here.
Setzer is in trouble. He is getting passed by everybody on the course right now. That is Mike Stefanik going by. Stefanik is 15th.
Let's try 3 wide again. Look at that 67 truck right there. Chuck Bound says, what are we guys doing? I don't want to be pinched in the middle here. He gives it up.
Well, Roper has now moved into the top 10, so he's come from 30th to 10th. You see, he gave a little motion to Chuck Bound saying, come on with me, we'll go.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're gets in behind me here. Let's get going. We're faster, but it's not going to happen. Chuck Bound says, no, I think I'd just rather pass if you don't mind. I don't know if Tony's truck is real tight, but he's way up on the racetrack. Bound drives down the apron, and they are side by side at least for a while there.
And that's Mike Wallace in the 52, the Pure One Chevrolet. Purelator made an announcement earlier this week they would not be returning on that truck next year, so Kenny Schrader is looking for a new sponsor for that vehicle. Chuck Bound right now must feel like the meat in the sandwich. He's got Roper in front of him, Wallace behind.
And a pretty good race. It looks like these trucks are really different mid-corner. One truck will be better than the other. I don't know if that's the dump of the draft coming off the other. Look at how low right there Chuck Bound can drive the car. Tony Roper up in the middle of the racetrack.
One of the things we should point out about that 55 truck next year, you know, it's co-owned by Tom Gloy and Bobby Rahal. With Rahal retiring, he will be at several of the races next year in the Craftsman Truck Series, so race fans will get a chance to see Bobby Rahal at the track as well.
Bobby Rahal, a long time competitor, had a fantastic career, and now, of course, will be a dual car owner, and will be a good addition to this truck thing. In the meantime, look at Mike Bliss. Look at Mike Bliss. He's leading this thing.
And he's putting Randy Tolsma down a lap. That is the 31st position on the racetrack. And you can see the gap back to second. So Mike Bliss in control of this race, but he was in control of last year's as well. But he didn't win it. So stay with it. Still a lot to be determined. Sam's Town, 250. Track drying continues at Atlanta Motor Speedway for all you Winston Cup fans. We got a great race going here. We'll keep you updated on what happens in Atlanta. We're here at the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the season finale, the Sam's Town 250, and the race leader is the number 2 of Mike Bliss, and Jack Sprague is closing in behind. But coming up right after us, RPM tonight with a recap of what's happening in Winston Cup and here at the Craftsman Truck Series, Reese Davis following us here tonight on ESPN2.
That's Hubert in that truck, Mike, Hubert.
And that was Barry Dotson telling his driver who is in the truck that he's coming up on, which is Tommy Hubert. Sprague has closed. I mean, the gap was well over a second and a half. All of a sudden, here's Jack knocking on the door.
Out of nowhere, man. He ran down Bliss like he wasn't even doing anything out there. And, of course, now he sits right behind him. Got to be concerned all when you see Jack Sprague on a long track like this. He will flex the muscle of that Chevrolet.
Well, as it stands right now, Sprague could finish in that position and lose the championship because Ron Hornaday is 4th.
Good line, Mike. You're driving away again. Good job.
You heard the conversation going on as Mike Bliss is looking to get around Scott Walters. Here's our Dodge race recap. Bliss is your current leader. He has led 44 of 81 laps. We've had 6 total lead changes, 2 cautions so far, and we're averaging about 134 miles an hour. Bliss getting ready to go around. You see the lap leaders there. Sprague has led 23. Jay Sauter, Ron Hornaday, Greg Biffle in that mix as well. You know, it's two trucks out of the race right now. The 11 of Scott Hansen, Randy Renfro. And you see Mike Bliss getting around Scott Walters. Walters in a dogfight for 20th in the points championship. Only one position in the points is locked up. That's Joe Ruttman in 3rd. And you say, what's so important about 20th for that 37 truck of Scott Walters? That's worth $24,000. If he finishes 21st, he gets 0. Points championship right now, Sprague would lose by 3. What about pit strategy? Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Well, talking with Jack Sprague's crew, they think they're going to bring him in just a little bit earlier. They're planning possibly on bringing him in within the next 5 laps. They can go a little bit longer, but that's what Max, they want to bring him in right now. They want to start changing that right side tire, get him back up where he needs to be in terms of right side condition with everybody else. What's Hornaday's strategy? Let's go down to Gary Gerald.
Right now, unless we hear differently, the plan was to keep him out a little bit longer than apparently Sprague's intentions. We'll see if that changes, however, because so many times it's follow the leader among the leaders. Hornaday will come in. They anticipated around lap 90 to 92. We've got 84 complete unofficially, and he'll go for left side tires this time and get that out of the way. If he makes it to 90 to 92, that's a good long stretch of nearly 60 laps. So the fuel consumption apparently is going quite well for Hornaday.
And while that is all going on, that's the battle for 11th. Chuck Bound, Kevin Harvick in the 75, Bound in the 67.
And likable Jimmy Hensley has not given up either. He's still right in the middle of the battle. He's been fighting with people all day.
We've got trucks on pit lane. In fact, it looks like Jack Sprague, yes, he has pulled into pit lane, making his way down towards Rick DeBrule. And Rick, 55, 60 miles an hour in pit lane. He can't afford to go speeding.
Okay, they're going to bring him in. This time they're going to change those two right side tires. Remember, under the truck rules, they can only change two tires during a yellow stop, but they could change all four if they wanted to on this stop. Needless to say, they're only going to go for those two on the right side. They were only planning on they're making a slight change, right rear suspension, tightening it up just a little bit. As I said earlier, he felt it was loose going into the turn and tight coming out. As a result, they've made that change. And I can tell you, he confirmed that a second time after the last pit stop. They get fuel in, they send him out at 22 seconds.
And we noticed, Rick, that they had a little bit of trouble with the fuel can. I'm wondering if they got the full load.
I don't know that they did either. I looked on the ground when they went between the first and the second can. There was a lot of gas on the ground. The second can, in fact, the gas can holder had a bit of problem there, Marty. It looked like they didn't have it engaged all the way.
Our race leader is also on pit lane. Mike Bliss is going to make a stop.
Straight out. Get it in about 4
Ron Hornaday is also coming in as well. Greg Biffle. Things are really happening here on lap number 87. Remember, we're past the halfway point. Gary Gerald, it's all yours.
Well, we said it could be follow the leader. That, in fact, is the case. Hornaday went 2 more laps after Sprague made his stop. It was a long stop for Sprague. Let's see what happens now as this team goes to work. Teresa Earnhardt's crew in action. Left side tires, 1 can complete. Scraping off a lot of tire buildup around the front air entry in the air dam. Now they say go. He got him in 16.1 seconds, so in the pit road, he may have gained 6 seconds on Sprague.
Definite track advantage will be for Ron Hornaday's crew this time around. Remember, they had a bit of a glitch the last time. And Mike Bliss comes back out on the race course. Now remember, some of these trucks have yet to pit. For example, Tony Roper pitted on lap 78, so he can stay out for a while. And Ron Barfield is our new race leader. Started 11th, out front now in the Ortho Lawn and Garden Chevrolet. And Joe Ruttman is right behind him. But remember, neither he nor Barfield have pitted yet. You're on board with Tony Raines. That's the view from Greg Biffle. Ron Barfield out front at the Samstown 250.
The trucks and the ambulances continue to be the only activity on the racetrack as they are still trying to get the moisture up out of the racetrack. We've been in a long rain delay, but we still hope to get this thing in sometime this evening. Right now, the track drying is continuing. We go back to Marty Reed at Las Vegas.
Along with Dorsey Schrader, I'm Marty Reed, Rick DeBrule, and Gary Gerald down the pits. And you're looking at our race leader right now. He has yet to pit. Joe Ruttman out in front. And just as I say that, he takes the turn on the backstretch heading into turn 3 and makes his way down towards pit lane. So that means Lonnie Rush, if he stays out there, the young man from Pickerington, Ohio, who started 4th, will be our new race leader. So Joe Ruttman at the early end of pit lane. He should be making his way towards the pit box right here at the opening. Yes, he'll bring it to a stop. The X-side battery's forward. And he won this race last year, but has not been all that fast this weekend. Pit crew doing their job. They're going for left side tires on this one.
Roush trucks are known for getting a lot of fuel mileage, and that we see right now because Ruttman's one of the very last trucks to pit. He gets his 2 tires, and he's underway. Pretty clean pit stop right there.
So while he pulls back out on the race, Jack Sprague is back out onto the racetrack, and they had some trouble on his pit stop. Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Indeed, Dorsey called it just right. They were not able to get all the fuel in when they were trying to get that pit stop done. As a result, they had to send him out without a complete load. And I got to tell you, tried to talk to Dennis Conner just a few moments ago about it. He is not a happy camper right now. Now they know they've done something as a result of pit work that's going to put Jack Sprague just a little behind the curve in trying to win this race. Now the battle is how do they catch up. Gary Gerald?
Everything was routine as far as the stop for Ron Hornaday. Fred Graves and the crew very happy. They got their left side tires on. They did it in a fraction over 16 seconds. It resulted in track position advantage over Sprague. And right now it looks like as they head for turn 2, about 15 lengths between those 2 trucks. They are currently listed 4th and 5th. Advantage for the moment, Hornaday.
And both teams now have had a slight faux pas on the pitch. And meanwhile, here comes Lonnie Rush, the Pickerington, Ohio driver. He is our race leader, at least until now when he pulls down pit lane, and that will complete the cycle, and it will give Mike Bliss the race lead. So Lonnie Rush, who qualified fourth, his best Las Vegas finish, you can see there last year, 35th, so he's looking to improve on that.
Well, we talked about a mistake being made in the pits being costly. This one for Jack Sprague is very costly. The only way they can make that ground up right now is if there's a caution that needs it right away.
Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Lonnie Rush has brought it in. They are changing the left side tires. Changed the right side before. Now they're going to go ahead and change just the left side, making no adjustments as far as the suspension is concerned. In and out the air, in and up front, making sure there's no there. They get their fuel in, he fires up, and he is gone.
So the Ohio State Chevy, who has one top 5 finish this year, back out onto the racetrack. And Mike Bliss cycles around to retake the spot that he has held the most today, the top spot. Here's the battle for the championship, and Jack Sprague says, oh, I got to get around him.
How many times this year have we seen this? Of course, it's too early in the race for him to do anything yet. But, boy, I tell you what, Jack Sprague moves underneath Hornaday, around him, and look at Hornaday now. He's going to do it for the double pass, side by side off that corner. This is what these guys have done all year. This is why one of them deserves to be the champion.
I thought that maybe Hornaday was just letting him go by and saying, okay, I'll fall back in, but then all of a sudden he came right back and said, nah, I don't think so.
I love watching these two guys cat and mouse with each other. They like nothing more than just getting under each other's skin, and they just did it right there. Big double pass. Great stuff.
Jack Sprague, the king of the super speedways. He's got 11 super speedway poles. Hornaday has only 1. We've already talked about the battle here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and this is what the championship would look like if it ended right now. Sprague, even though he's ahead of Hornaday, would lose by 8 points.
It's hard to find improvement on these teams, these two teams and these two top drivers, but if there were any improvement made this year, most certainly Ron Hornaday's improvement on these long tracks.
So these guys keep looking at each other. Whoa, wait a minute.
He went all the way down there. That time, I did see the Napa brake truck get a little test wiggle right down on the apron.
Well, because it flattens out there. I would imagine it would destabilize the truck.
Yeah, I don't know that he wanted to drive it down that low. When you hit that apron, it does unsettle. It throws all the weight to the right side, and that's what made it twitch. A good save by Hornaday, because he's known for car control, but he's not known for making very many mistakes. There was one.
We should tell you that these two are about 5 seconds behind Mike Bliss, as Bliss has tried to check out. The only guy that's close to him right now is Greg Biffle. I think these two are sort of paying attention to each other.
Yeah, they are. There's a lot of race left, too, but these two guys are having a little fun right there. They say, well, when they did that double pass.
There is Mike Bliss, our race leader. We should point out that Lonnie Rush made our 8th different leader today. The series record, in case you're interested, 10 set at Texas this year, back in June.
And all that in a race, it's not that old again.
Well, that's not true. We have made it past halfway point. 101 laps are down, and we're working lap 102 at 167. There's Greg Biffle. He's in second now, a second down to that man, Mike Bliss. We're at Sam's Town 250 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We'll find out who's going to win this thing. Stay with us. Back at the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The final round of the 1998 championship. Jack Sprague in front of Ron Hornaday. They are running 3rd and 4th in the racetrack. The championship at stake. It will be decided by the end of the race today. If you're just joining us, you have missed a great race. We have 8 different leaders so far. Now think about this. Jack Sprague has finished ahead of Hornaday 14 of the 26 races this season. He's ahead of him right now. But it's not enough to win the championship.
No, it's not enough to win the championship, because if it finishes like this, Hornaday right behind him, Hornaday will clinch the championship. So Jack Sprague has got to find some way to put some distance between him and Ron Hornaday.
Well, right now, Sprague's giving a jab, and he's punching him with that little left, but it's got to be enough. He's got to get the knockout punch. And speaking of the knockout punch, the Friday night fights presented by Budweiser, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Friday here on ESPN2. It'll be Hurtado versus Gomez. These are 2 top-rated challengers. It's going to be great at the Friday night fight. Speaking of a fight, we've got a battle between Mike Bliss and the number 50 of Greg Biffle. He has cut a second lead down to 2/10 of a second.
Yep, and Greg Biffle, of course, is right now leading the championship for the Rookie of the Year, has not won a race. This would be a great way to end his season.
The Cintas Rookie of the Year award, very public. Kenny Irwin Jr. won it last year. The radio you're listening to. That is Mike Bliss's radio. We're on board with Greg Biffle. You can see he's got 4 poles. In fact, that ties him for the most of anybody in the series. 7 top 5s, 11 top 10s, but still looking for that first victory.
Tell you what, both these Ford trucks have been running really well all day long. They've always been in the hunt for all the pit stops, for all of these action that we've seen. These 2 trucks have been constant.
Greg Biffle right behind as we're on board with Mike Bliss. Well, he was so adamant about how he wanted to win this race and end the 1998 season on an up note.
Looks to me, though, right now that Biffle is actually a little bit more stable getting off of these corners. Now, whether that's a result of being back, and look at the traffic they're in now.
I was wondering if it was either the traffic getting them slowed down, or maybe taking the aerodynamics and just turning it into junk.
Well, that's for sure. These things basically have the aerodynamics of a brick with a spoiler on the back. When you throw them 170 miles an hour, well, a lot of stuff can happen.
Just don't throw that brick my way.
Whoa! Oh, and he loosens him up. He took the air off the back of Mike Bliss. Great save right there. That pass speed. Boy, that was a big moment.
Yes, he did, Mike.
Yes, he did. Yes, I'd say he did.
Boy, I guarantee you that will get your attention in the cockpit of that truck.
Well, you notice that the pitch of his voice, the octave level was quite high. I'm sure he didn't tighten the seat belts. That's just a normal human reaction to a big moment.
You've done that a few times.
I have done that. That's not a fun deal at all.
So Greg Biffle gets around, and Biffle is your race leader again. So now we've had 9 lead changes. And Greg looking for that first victory. You know, earlier in the year, he went all the way back to like 30th in one of the super speedway races at Texas, and then he basically fought his way right back to the front. And here he is running up front here after starting 5th.
And Mike Bliss is, of course, trying to get his breath back, get his composure back, and refuel his truck out, because we'll look at that again. I mean, that was a huge run. Look, he's taking the air off the spoiler. Look at the 2 truck really sideways. You don't get further sideways on a radial tire and ever get back away from that.
Great save from Mike Bliss as he did a great job of controlling the ASE Ford. Stay with us. We'll have a lot more from Las Vegas. You can see darkness is setting in. Yes, they are still drying the track at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Winston Cup fans, stay with us. We'll keep you updated on what's happening there. Meanwhile, here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, you're on board with Greg Biffle as he has just gotten around Blake Bainbridge, the 19-year-old rookie who had his best qualifying effort ever in 8th, but went down a lap early when he had a contact with the wall. Biffle, meanwhile, has tried to check out on Mike Bliss. He's opened up almost a 2-second margin. And we're on board now with Ron Hornaday, who is running 4th, and he is right behind Jack Sprague. Now, talk about super improvement on the super speedways. Hornaday in 1997, 1 win, 3 top 5s. His average finish 12.9. But look at 1998.
They obviously have done a lot of their homework trying to get this speedway truck up to par, because he was nowhere before, and he is, in fact, hugely improved this year.
What a difference. That's 7 positions better on average. What about Jack Sprague? Well, this guy has been consistent since day 1. 2 wins, 7 top 5s. 7 is his average finish, and almost duplicating it here in 1998.
Well, Jack is Mr. Speedway, that's for sure. He's been awesome since the inception of this whole truck division.
Let's go down to Gary Gerald for some more on super speedway talk.
Yeah, Marty, if you break this down to tracks comparable in size to Las Vegas, which is 1.5 miles, that narrows it down to Homestead, to Texas, and to California. And there, the advantage goes distinctly to Sprague, because he was 2nd at Homestead, he won at California, he was 6th at Texas. The best Hornaday could do was a 3rd at California. His average is 12th in those 3 races. The average for Sprague is a solid 3rd. Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
I want to update the situation involving Jack Sprague and the fuel. Things are a little brighter around the Jack Sprague camp right now. Turns out they got more fuel in than they thought. At first, they thought they had not gotten enough fuel, and basically the problem was the catch can fell off. As a result, rather than fumble with things, try to get everything back on, Dennis Conner made the decision to send them back out. At first, he didn't think there was a lot of fuel that got in. More got in. As a result, they now think they only have to make 1 more stop to finish this race. As a result, like I say, the mood has improved tremendously here in Jack Sprague's pit.
So there's the update on the fuel situation, although it will still be interesting to see how much earlier he may have to pit than the number 16 of Ron Hornaday. Take a look at the 3 abreast traffic. That's our race leader down low there, and wisely getting out of it and saying, okay, I'll bide my time here.
Yeah, they just went right around him, sandwiched him in the middle, and Biffle said, "Ooh, I don't think so. I don't like that. I'm out of here."
Well, Dennis Setzer is the last truck on the lead lap right now in 10th position, and he would be going a lap down here if he gets passed by this guy that we're on board with, Greg Biffle.
And I think he just fought his way back from that position.
Rick can add on Greg Biffle's situation.
Just want to talk about his year. You know, he came from late model. This has been a huge adjustment coming into these trucks. And the other thing to think about, this weekend, it's the first time he's ever been to Las Vegas Motor Speedway and raced on this super speedway. First time was the very first practice. There was no practice session, no warm-up sessions, none of the test sessions some of the other guys had. He's been learning this track all weekend, and got to admit, he likes it.
We should point out, while you were talking, Rick, it was Biffle going around Andy Houston. That is the guy he is fighting for the Cintas Rookie of the Year position, and he has put him a lap down. So Houston's chances have just suffered a very major setback.
Dennis Setzer is having none of this lap and meet business. I tell you what, he's saying he's doing everything. He's using traffic wisely. He's keeping Biffle behind him, and that's no short task right now, because Biffle has been the fastest car or fastest truck on the racetrack.
We've only got 9 trucks now on the lead lap, as Biffle has, since this last round of pit stops, has been eating up the racetrack.
Maybe eating up his tires. Matter of fact, I don't know.
Well, as we head to commercial break, we have to update Tony Roper's situation. Remember, he was running up in the top 10. Well, he's now out. The engine gave up the ghost. Stay with us.
Another live update for you from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Track drying continues. We are beginning to see some light gray streaks in the track once again, continuing to give us hope that we will indeed be able to run this race yet this evening. We certainly hope so. Now back to Marty Reed in Las Vegas.
That's just a quick glimpse of all the different winners we've had this year in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. 14 in all, and this could be number 15 and number 13 in a row. Greg Biffle out in front in the Granger Ford by 3.3 seconds over Mike Bliss. And there, could it be lucky number 13?
And unfortunately, right when we got back on there, he was passing Dennis Setzer, so we put him a lap down. We were hoping that wouldn't happen. It was a great drive by Dennis in the Dodge back there, but not good enough.
Setzer right there, and look, he's closing in. He wants that position back. This is going to be an interesting team next year, getting a lot more support from Dodge. Setzer will be the driver. Bob Keselowski will run a research and development truck in 5 races, and they're going to have much more testing budget. Keselowski told me it's going to be the best situation that team has ever had.
Here, Ron Barfield battling real hard with Jay Sauter right there, and of course they're battling for the 6th spot.
Barfield qualified 11th. Jay Sauter qualified 3rd. Sauter has won a race this year at Martinsville. Barfield still looking for number 1 on 1998.
Barfield has been in the thick of all of these things all day long. He's been in and around all of the good battles all day long. He's still stuck with it. Jay Sauter going after it for 6 points.
Well, Sauter is the next to get lapped. We've only got 7 trucks now on the lead lap. As they come across the stripe, I can tell you the margin of difference from 1st to 6th place with Jay Sauter is 26.7 seconds, and Joe Ruttman is now in 7th. In fact, there's the reason Ruttman has been bumped back, as he is in the pits getting right side rubber. And it looks like the 24 truck is pulling in. So now we know the fuel situation as Jack Sprague blinks first on lap 127. Gary Gerald is in the number 16 bit. Let's go to Rick DeBrule. Sorry, guys.
Indeed. Remember, they're going to make this pit stop a little earlier than they planned because of the fact that they didn't get all the fuel into it last time. This time, they don't intend to make any mistake. They bring Sprague in. They're going to go ahead, and you can see in the back, they're going to start fueling things up. This time, the catch can is exactly where it should be. They put in the first can of 11 gallons of fuel. They're going to get that in, and they're going to put the second one. Meanwhile, they're changing right-side tires. There is no adjustment to the suspension that we can see. They just make the splash, they fill it up, and they send him back out. This time, the crew looks much happier.
13.4 seconds. You can tell them they can be very proud of that stop, Rick. and Ron Hornaday the very next lap. So interestingly enough, he is coming in a little bit earlier than I thought, Gary Gerald.
That's by design. They want to follow the strategy employed by Sprague. Everybody's in the window. This should be the final test of the 1998 season for their crew. It'll be right side rubber. It'll be fuel to carry him toward what he hopes will be a championship. But he's got to make sure that they don't make a mistake. Clock ticking, nearing 13. He's rolling. 13.6, almost identical to Sprague's stop, Rick.
0.3 of a second difference, and here is Greg Biffle into the pits.
Right, Greg Biffle into the pits. They go ahead. They put the right side tires on. They're fueling him up as well. Does not look like there's any problems. They're making no suspension adjustments. Once again, this is the team that's been doing so well on fuel mileage, but they're going with the leaders. They make their change, and they're out.
So that means that those three are good to go for the rest of the race, and now it's up to them.
And now these guys are all doing things for track position, as we saw right away there at the beginning was Joe Ruttman, who stayed out the longest at the beginning. He's trying to get track position. Our new leader, Mike Bliss.
And you can see that Bliss has come all the way around. That's Tony Raines in the 19 right behind him, but Raines is well back already a lap down in this contest. And you can see Mike Bliss has led 64 of the circuits that we've run so far. We're working on lap number 131. Mike Bliss out in front. He finished 5th here last year. We'll find out if he can win it when we come back. Well, this is not a recording. Things in Atlanta are still trying to get dry, and we'll keep you posted on the Winston Cup race. Here at the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series event, Dennis Setzer has cycled his way into the lead, but now he makes his way down pit lane as he won earlier this year, as he makes his way towards what will be his final pit stop. That should put Greg Biffle into the lead. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
We watch Setzer glide to a stop. The man who won on the short track recently at Mesa Marin, getting the fuel and right side rubber. There's damage up around the air dam in the front. We'll make a move toward the front, and you'll see the damage on the left front side. They try to rip it off. They do not succeed. And there's tape also around the rear wheel, debris flying. I think he may have to come back in.
Oh, this could be so costly. This team was doing so well, running in the top 10 here late in the race. Greg Biffle cycles his way around to the race lead. Setzer, in fact, becomes our 9th different leader, and we've had 14 lead changes.
Wow, what a day. I'll tell you what, if Greg Biffle wins this race, he not only wins his first race, he wins the Rookie of the Year title. It's going to be a big day for him. Of course, we're not done with this race yet.
Biffle in front of Mike Bliss by about 6 seconds, according to timing and scoring. Mike Bliss comes across the line. Let's find out what happened on Bliss's stop. That came while we were in commercial break. Rick DeBrule?
Indeed. You know, as we step out for a moment, next thing you know, these guys come in. Indeed, they brought him in, just put on 2 right side tires, made no adjustments. They are very happy with the way the truck is running at this point. Send them back out. They had a very, very quick stop, and that's why they're right back in the race up front.
As we are on board with Mike Bliss, I'm looking at the scoreboard. A couple of guys that have stayed out. One in particular, Stacy Compton, is in the 8th position. He's 32 seconds down, but if he could get a yellow right now, that would be a big savings for him because he was a lap down. He's trying to hang on.
And that is the other side of the coin to these guys that pitted early and went for track position, is that if, in fact, you can stay out there on fuel and catch a caution, it can also work to your advantage.
As we cycle through, pick out your favorite driver. You see Compton there in the 8th spot, as we've completed 136 of 167 circuits here at the 1.5-mile super speedway of Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Greg Biffle well out in front now by 7.3 seconds. There is Stacy. Talk about a guy who's had an up and down weekend. They blew a motor on Friday. He comes back to take 7th in qualifying, and then in the morning practice he brushes the wall, and he just barely made it to the line.
Well, they brushed the wall pretty darn hard, really. They had to work on that truck or take the backup truck out. At first they thought they'd have to take the backup truck out. If they did, they'd have to start dead last. So those guys on the crew worked like crazy, rebuilt the whole front end, and the truck is very competitive, as we see right now.
He finished 12th here last year at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and as he told us earlier, this track can lure you into a mistake. It did during practice earlier today. Rick, you've got more on Stacy?
Well, Indeed, wanted to talk about the fact he liked this truck so much, he really didn't want to go to the backup, but he said they had to change an awful lot of pieces to get it ready for this particular race after the incident. On the other hand, he said a lot of the pieces they changed were just precautionary. He just liked the way this truck was running so much, he didn't want to leave it behind.
And next year, Stacy moves over into a Dodge, a two-truck effort. Randy Tolsma will be his teammate. Royal Crown will be back as the primary sponsor on the number 86. And, boy, they are really pumped about next year. On board with Dennis Setzer, a battle for 10th. Whoa, getting a little loose. That's Barfield in front.
Why does that not surprise me? Barfield has been in the middle of all these things all day long. Putting on quite a show for the fans right here. I tell you what, the truck of his, he's working really, really hard. It's not as stable as he'd like it to be, but he's driving the wheels off it.
Well, you can see how ominous the clouds look off into the distance, but so far, except for the 40-mile-an-hour winds, the wet stuff has stayed off to the west, and we are very grateful for that.
Of course, lights on right here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as it's getting pretty darn dark out there.
On board again with Dennis Setzer as he has gotten around Barfield. That puts him back into the top 10, but he is a lap down. We've got a total of 7 trucks now on the lead lap as it looks as though Stacy Compton has just been put a lap down as well. In fact, Compton is coming into the pit lane. That is why he has cycled out of that position.
You know, a driver right now is the most uncomfortable time because it's not yet dark. The sun's gone down, so it's not in your eyes. The lights are on, they are in your eyes. And you go in and out of these shadows, and you can't always be sure the shadow's not a truck alongside you. So for a little bit here, there's an adjustment period for your eyes, and it gets real uncomfortable.
Greg Biffle is your race leader, looking for victory number 1. He's got an 8.5-second lead over Mike Bliss. In fact, you can't even see Bliss as we go on board with Biffle. That is Ron Hornaday. He's running 4th, and Jack Sprague is 3rd. That means it's Hornaday's championship right now. Stay with us. Back at the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the Samstown 250, you're looking at our race leader, Greg Biffle, as he is well in control of this race by about 8 seconds over Mike Bliss. Greg Biffle is leading in the rookie points. He's done well, starting on the pole a total of 4 times. But a young man by the name of Andy Houston spoiled his hopes of victory number 1 at Loudon. He still hasn't found victory lane. But today could be his day. Look at that statistic. Wow. No higher than 9th in the points. I didn't know that one. He's currently 8th. And this certainly wouldn't hurt his title hopes going up. He probably jumped a position. So,
of course, this Jack Roush truck prepared by Dan Binks, ex-Tommy Kendall, Trans Am crew chief, and a guy and a bunch of guys that I have raced with and against for many years.
Yellow is out. They're saying debris between turn 3 and 4. So this is going to tighten everything up. And it's going to take Greg Biffle's 11-second lead and turn it into 0. And when we were on board there, I was just getting ready to mention it. As you see Chris Morgan waving the yellow, he wasn't moving those hands much at all, even with the 40-mile-an-hour winds.
I picked that up, too. You were looking at that. It was very, very, very stable-looking car from the inside.
Jack Sprague in your shot right there. And he is 3rd in the field in front of Ron Hornaday. And Rick DeBrule, that's not good enough for the championship.
No, indeed. You can talk about the tension down here. For the most part, you know, these guys have really done everything they could today. Now they have to sit up and kind of wait. They are contemplating one last stop. The question is, do you put on a last couple of tires, make sure he's even better for this last run, but lose track position? That's what they're in the situation of debating right now. But I got to tell you, they called this team together before the race, and Dennis Conner told them, you know what, we're never going to be in this situation again because next year we're going to have the championship wrapped up before the last race. Gary?
And 6 pits away, Ron Hornaday's crew on the wall. They've got fresh left fronts on the wall ready. It's that monkey see, monkey do attitude. If Sprague comes, I guarantee you we'll see Hornaday. We may see Hornaday at any rate. They are poised. They are waiting. We wait with them. This championship showdown being played out to the final laps of a season that started 10 months ago on the other side of the country.
Well, guys, I hate to tell you this, but it looks like everybody's going to stay out. And the championship update, if the race ended right now, Ron Hornaday would win by 8.
Hornaday will only take those tires if he feels his truck is not good right now. I don't think he will take them. On the other hand, if Sprague goes in, he will have to go at the same time. He is right now keying off everything Jack Sprague does.
Well, but they don't lose that much track position because there's only 7 vehicles on the lead lap. And here comes Mike Bliss taking advantage of that situation. Rick, you're there?
Interesting to point out, what they're changing here is the left side tires. Remember how Jack Sprague changed those tires at the very first stop. These guys didn't. They've been only changing those right side tires. Now for this last run, they think they have to go for those left sides.
And see, the worst that he does on position will be 7th place, because all the lap vehicles will be over in the other line. That was Jimmy Hensley. Jay Sauter also, as the number 3 GM Goodrich Chevy, moves his way back out on the racetrack. Sauter will be back with that team next year. That win at Martinsville sealed that deal. Ron Hornaday in control of the championship right now. Jack Sprague 1 position in front of him in 3rd, but it's not good enough. Stay with us. The tension's building as we head towards the checker.
Another live update from Atlanta Motor Speedway. As you can see, what were small gray streaks in the racetrack now are large. This track indeed is drying. We could have some action underway here before long. We'll update you at the end of the truck race. Let's go back to Las Vegas and see who wins the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Championship.
Today's Speed World event, the Sam's Town 250, is being brought to you by Ice House, ice brewed so there's never any watered down taste. And by ESPN Video. Get your officially licensed NASCAR videos from ESPN Video. With Dorsey Schrader, I'm Marty Reed, Rick DeBrule, and Gary Gerald down in pit lane, and sun is setting off into the distance as we're here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The lights are out on the pace truck, and we will be going green, working lap number 151 of 167. The championship is at stake. Take a look at Greg Biffle there in the number 50. He is your race leader. Right behind him is Jack Sprague, and Ron Hornaday is in 3rd. Now remember, Sprague must win the race and hope that Hornaday stays 3rd or worse under this current scenario.
Doesn't get any closer than this. We've got a 16-lap sprint for all the marbles, and all of the players are right at the front.
I got to be honest, I honestly have some butterflies in my stomach, because this is coming down to exactly what we were all hoping it would. A shootout at the end of the season. We talked about it at the beginning. We've raced over 4,200 miles, and we've only got a few more to go to decide it all. Green flag is out.
Recipe for disaster right here. I'll tell you what, lap trucks trying to get back on the lead lap. There's Jack Sprague working the high side. Biffle takes the lead. Hornaday tucks up with Sprague. That is the championship battle right there on the top side of the racetrack.
Well, your Cintas Rookie of the Year has the race lead right now. If he holds on to this position, he claims that championship as well, wins his first race. The championship overall for the season is right behind him. Who wrote this script?
And dare I say, there were 3 wide with Hornaday at the top end of that train right there for just a moment. Something that him and Sprague don't want to see is themselves get taken out in somebody else's accident. I don't think that's going to be the case here today.
Well, Hornaday better get the horse going a little bit, because he's about 3 trucks right behind him there that could become a factor. And Dennis Setzer trying to get underneath him. Setzer wants to get his lap back.
Remember the air off the spoiler, and we have a smoker. Terry Cook has lost a motor on the 88 truck. He might bring out the caution. In fact, he does bring out the caution.
It'll be our 4th caution of the day as the flag comes out, and Sprague drops back as he's going to let a couple of those slower trucks come on by. They are a lap down, so the number 50 remains in the lead. Greg Biffle. It'll be Sprague and Hornaday 2nd and 3rd, so we're just going to have to wait a few more laps to reshuffle it here on lap 155.
Well, that was sportsmanlike to let those guys go, but somebody like Tony Raines there, I don't know. This race isn't over yet.
Yeah, well, Raines is 2 laps down, so that one didn't hurt so badly. He'll just pick up 1 of those laps.
And this just adds the pressure, obviously, because it's going to take a little while to make sure that the track has no oil on it. That's going to burn out a lap or 2, and we're going to get down to a sprint race with less laps than we had the last one.
All right, let's take a look at the points. As of right now, for the top 10, Hornaday would win the championship by 8 over Jack Sprague. Joe Ruttman is the only one in the top 20 that has his position clinched. Jay Sauter would be in 4th. Tony Raines would be in 5th. And then as we look at Jimmy Hensley, he would move up a position, 6th. Stacy Compton would drop 1 to 7th. Greg Biffle would move up to 8th. Mike Bliss jumps to 8th or 9th position by jumping 2 spots if he holds on right now, and then Barfield would round out our top 10.
Well, here's a scenario for you. Your leader, Greg Biffle, up there. if he wins the race, of course, he wins the Rookie of the Year. If he gets into a skirmish, Houston, of course, is running with him, who is a lap down. What's more important, winning your first race or winning Rookie of the Year?
I think he wants to win the race. I mean, he felt like he had it at Loudon. He felt like he had a good shot at Texas. You can brag an awful lot during the offseason about winning that last race, and I think he knows he's got quality people around him that aren't going to take him out just needlessly, so I think he's going to go for it.
And by winning, he wins anyway, doesn't he?
Speaking of championships, our continuing coverage will be on November 18th, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and we'll take a look at the rear view mirror, a recap of the 1998 season, 3 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. Then December 20th, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Awards Banquet. That's where we all get dressed up like penguins. And at 6 o'clock Eastern, we'll be on ESPN2, handing out all the paychecks.
Penguin? I don't do that.
You know, tuxedos, you know. It's kind of spiffy and it's kind of nice. We have a good time. We'll be back with the finish here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Greg Biffle's out in front. There's Dennis Conner. He thinks he's got himself a championship. We'll find out right after this. Marty Reed along with Dorsey Schrader, Rick DeBrew, and Gary Gerald down in the pits, and the championship is going to be decided in the next 11 laps. The pace truck will be pulling off this time by, and I did not think that we could get it this dramatic, but it is.
Side-by-side restart. We got lap trucks in the way. 1 lap from now, that wouldn't happen, but it's going to be that way. Jack Sprague has got to get to the front. He's got to go right now. It's green. Hornaday cannot be wrecked by anybody. He's got to finish.
And Biffle's slow on the trigger, and so is Jack Sprague and Ron Hornaday. Hornaday could have shot around all of them if he could have gotten on the throttle, but it's not going to happen. Tony Raines is going to pull in front of our race leader, the number 50 of Greg Biffle.
Setzer, of course, is a lap truck. He's trying to get his lap back. It's not going to happen right now. Biffle coming up to speed on a bad restart.
Remember that Sprague in the 24 GMAC Chevrolet has to win the race and hope that Hornaday finishes 3rd or worse under the current scenario. If Hornaday stays in 3rd, it doesn't matter if Sprague stays 2nd. He loses the championship.
Sprague has got to get these trucks out of his way. He's got to keep picking these guys off, get to the front, put as many trucks between him and Sprague as possible. Hornaday is possible. Hornaday in big, heavy traffic back there and has been passed by Ruttman.
And Ruttman moves him a position to the rear, and Hornaday now finds himself in 4th place. So now Sprague does have a championship hope.
But he's got to get by the trucks. He's got to get by the guys in front of him. Hornaday can't be back there. He's going to have to pick up the pace, get around these guys. He can't have that big a gap.
That is Brendan Gaughan in the Orleans Chevrolet right in front of him. He is a couple of laps down. He moves over. And meanwhile, there's Jack Sprague. He has got all kinds of traffic around him as well. Hornaday coming across the stripe. There you see Sprague. In front of him is Biffle. To the right in the 29 is Setzer.
Not a lot of room. He touched the apron there. He's Sprague driving loose. Very loose coming off that corner right there. He's trying to get by Setzer, who is a lap down if he gets by him. He's trying to take up after Biffle. He needs these positions.
Sprague is 2nd. Hornaday is 4th.
That was nearly a catastrophe. He was loose all the way off that corner and in very close proximity.
Sprague gets past Setzer. Meanwhile, Biffle maintains the race lead. He's looking for his first championship. Here's the way it would shape up. Hornaday would win by 3 points with the current positions. Sprague in 2nd, Hornaday in 4th. That's why Jack Sprague needs to win this race.
And you can bet that Ron Hornaday's got an earful of his crew chief saying, you're all right right now. You're going to win by 3 if you stay where you are. Trying to calm this whole situation down. These guys' hearts are in their throat right now.
Greg Biffle could be Cintas Rookie of the Year, could get victory number 1. He's got Jack Sprague, who wants a championship. For Sprague to get that championship, he's got to pass Biffle. It could get physical here.
Here comes Hensley underneath Hornaday. He's looking to get underneath Hornaday. Hornaday didn't want that. In the meantime, Sprague's trying to get the race. He's trying to win this thing. Here goes Hornaday. He makes that position up. Okay.
And Hensley is 4th position. Hensley is 5th. Jay Sauter is 6th. So Hornaday has got to get the horsepower down to the track and maintain that position. If he slides 1 more position back, Sprague's okay in 2nd.
Absolutely right. He cannot give up that position. In the meantime, Sprague's trying to take a position away from Biffle for the first win. He is in a position to win this race. Sprague trying quite hard right now. Hornaday just trying to stay where he's at.
5 laps to go. Hornaday's got his mirrors full of Jimmy Hensley. Hensley could play the role of spoiler. Up front, Greg Biffle still in front of Jack Sprague by 0.13 of a second.
5 to go. If Sprague can make the position, then Hornaday's got to do something about it. And he can see them. They can see each other, and they know what they have to do.
Coming through turn 4. 4 laps to go this time by. Biffle still in front of Jack Sprague. Sprague needs the spot.
Biffle does not care about Sprague's championship. He doesn't care about that. He wants his first win. He wants his rookie of the year. He is not going to give any headroom at all to the championship battle. I guarantee you that.
Tony Raines' lap traffic. The 19 is not from. Oh, we have contact in the corner wall. The yellow is out.
Wow, right there, it all came apart for a second there. Yellow's on the racetrack. We did have contact. I don't know what this has done.
The crash happened up in turn 2. It's Brendan Gaughan as he makes contact with the wall. Now remember, we do not end under yellow in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, so don't go anywhere. This is not going to be some anticlimactic finish. It's going to come down to probably a green, white, checkered shootout.
Oh, boy, and I tell you what, this is going to be something else. Brendan Gaughan is giving a good account of himself. He's a local guy, done really well. Bad day for him ending up like this, but it's going to open up a finale that we will not forget in a long time. A 1-lap or maybe 2-lap shootout, Marty.
Brendan finished 5th in the Winston West race. He climbs out of the cockpit of the Orleans Chevrolet, and he says, yeah, I'm okay, but the rules say get in the ambulance and go for a safety check.
Well, look what it's done here. We see Biffle up front there. That sets her, of course, as a lap down to the leader there. This time there won't be a side-by-side.
Right. Remember, the 10-lap rule will be in effect in NASCAR racing. That means all the lead vehicles will line up single file behind each other. All the lap traffic will be behind them. So it will be Greg Biffle, Jack Sprague, Joe Ruttman, and Ron Hornaday in that order. Then Jimmy Hensley in the top 5. Coming up right after us, Reese, you're going to have to come up with an awful lot to top this, buddy. RPM tonight coming your way right after the conclusion of our race here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it has been everything that we have wanted it to be. We are going to the wire. I don't think I have to say anything about Sprague's crew right there.
Look at this. Biffle and Ruttman are teammates. Look at the emotion in the pits.
Let's go down to Gary Gerald.
You talk about emotion. Here's a man who's been in this sport all his life. You've never won a championship. We're talking to Fred Graves with the Hornaday team. What are you feeling right now? And you know it's going to be green, white, checkered for the title.
Well, I just can't describe it. We're just hoping that Biffle can hang on to the lead and we can stay behind Jack. Right now we're okay, but if Jack gets by Biffle, we're going to lose it by a couple points.
And how about Hensley? He's right behind you, and he's got fresh tires on both sides by making 2 stops.
Well, all we can do is pray to the Lord right now.
Oh, my. I guess that says it. Rick DeBrule?
I can tell you there is a lot of praying going right now down in Jack Sprague's pit. Dennis Conner, who has guided this team to so close, within so close of a championship. And now he is sitting here thinking there's nothing he can do. There have been a lot of frustrations this year. There have been a lot of little things that have broken that truck right there that has cost them so much. They have finished every race but one. And now Dennis Conner right now is thinking back over that entire season, thinking about all the frustrations and how if his driver could just put it down to the floor just a little bit more and take that 1 lap and win this, the championship will be his. But I got to tell you, there is a lot of pacing going on in this pit right now.
Looking at Dennis Conner. He's probably thinking back to Phoenix and that booster cable. Sprague told me, he says, I've never broken a booster cable. That's what hurt him at Phoenix. And right now, he's got to pick up 1 more spot.
And it all comes down to a restart, and the guy leading is a rookie. He doesn't have the experience bringing the whole field up as much as the guy behind him. Jack Sprague is the master. Anything that can happen right here at the start. If Sprague gets the jump, it gets around, he might win this championship. It's all down to the restart.
And remember, the last caution when we went back to green flag racing, Biffle was slow on the trigger.
Exactly right. That's what I'm saying. A miscue on him, and it can be all over for Hornaday's team.
Watching Comedy Central. And remember, all that matters is that
these guys have got to do all they can do to move up 1 position. It's all for all the marbles.
The lights are out on the pace truck. We will be going green. Yeah, you better wipe your brow, Ron Hornaday.
And by the way, you can hold your breath for a lap and a half or 2 if you have to, and these guys are about to do it. 1 deep breath, and it's all they got.
Taking 1 more big pull on the drink tube. That's what that plastic tube going into his mouth. I bet you his whistle is very dry right now. This is the running order. 7 trucks on the lead lap, but it is green, white, checkered. This is a 2-lap shootout.
for the championship, for a first-time win for Greg Biffle, the Cintas Rookie of the Year award for the 50 driver. Oh, man, we could not have dreamt of anything better than what is about to unfold in the next minute and a half.
These are the special times in racing where the adrenaline in your veins makes you drive in the corner deeper than it's ever been driven into before. And then you pray that the thing will just stick, because you only have one more shot around this racetrack to win the championship. It will be quite indeed a shootout.
4,300 miles of racing, and we have come down to the final 3. Green flag flies. Biffle not slow on the trigger this time. Sprague, Ruttman, and then Hornaday.
Watch for some defensive driving now. It looks like Sprague's got a pretty good run going. Biffle takes it to the top and gets the run down the hill, trying to gather speed.
Through turn 2, Biffle staying down low. Oh, he wiggles.
Big wiggle. He lost some of the air. Sprague, that little wiggle might have caused him to lift. If he did, Sprague will be. Here comes Hornaday into Ruttman.
Hornaday underneath Ruttman for 3rd. So now Sprague must win this race.
And it won't make any difference if he does. He's going to have to get by, and he's trying to take the spoiler. Oh, he does it. He gets underneath Biffle right now.
Jack Sprague. Oh, contact. Sprague holds on to the spot. He's got a big donut. 1 lap to go.
And up in the gray, he's up there throwing a lot of marbles. Right now, Hornaday down. Hornaday can win this race.
Hornaday into 2nd. That would clinch the championship for Ron. Sprague.
And then goes Ruttman with a big speed if he comes up the racetrack.
A huge crash. Big crash in turn number 2, but they will race to the checkered flag because it is behind them. So it is now up to Jack Sprague. He has to hope that Ron Hornaday spins it out. All Hornaday has to do is stay right where he is. It's going to be Sprague's victory.
It's over. This thing's over. This is exactly what they had to do. Ron Hornaday wins the championship. Sprague wins the race.
Sprague wins the race, but Ron Hornaday wins the championship. Listen to that crew.
Oh, man.
3rd place will go to Greg Biffle. The 2 of them salute each other. No one could have written a script better than this. Jack Sprague did everything he had to. Ron Hornaday matched him toe-to-toe.
Biffle got into Sprague. I don't know how he saved that truck. He did. It was a big hit. Fantastic ending to a great year.
As heavyweight championship fights go.
Look at this, side by side for the fans.
That was probably the best heavyweight title fight you could ever dream of, and the emotions. As you see the banner, 1998, our first 2-time Craftsman Truck Series champion, and the name on the trophy will be Ron Hornaday.
That's
Jack Sprague making his way down onto the infield turf. So is Ron Hornaday. The 2 trucks coming side by side, perhaps, here. Look at this.
Well, they're both right there past the victory.
What a show of sportsmanship.
High-five each other.
The 2 of them.
Uh-oh. There we go.
And the victory donuts for both of them, and they have both are dead. Let's go to Gary Gerald with a man who's got to be just welling with emotion.
Man, I tell you, this is my first truck race. I'm welling with emotion. I can't imagine, Fred, what you're feeling right now. Tell us.
It's just unbelievable. I can't believe it.
Did your heart stop on that last lap?
Oh, absolutely. We just told Ron that if Jack got by Biffle, he had to go with him, and he did it. I can't believe it.
Well, let's go to victory lane and watch your guys celebrate.
Unbelievable. Thank you.
His first championship, gentlemen, in all the years.
And I have to tell you, that's a lot of emotion for Fred Graves. He is probably the coolest cucumber on pit lane that you ever want to see. He never gets super high or super low, but I guarantee you he's super high right now. Stay with us. We will talk to our race winner and our champion when we come back.
Ron Hornaday, for the 2nd time in his career, has got that championship by the throat. He just came out, he jumped on the roof, pushed the toolbox out of the way on the on-truck camera, and now comes down to the back. And boy, you talk about emotion. The man is feeling it. Oh, high fives everywhere. Ron Hornaday, you told us earlier today that having won this deal 2 years ago made it easier. But right now, I'm not convinced that it was any easier. You tell us.
I never said it's been easy. I just said coming into this one, just my mind was set. Thanks. Got to praise the Lord. Man, I don't know who to thank to begin with. This whole Napa Brake Chevrolet team is awesome. And Fred Graves, all these guys are just on this whole team has just got so much faith in me, and I got so much faith in them to come to win this thing. Jack Sprague won the race to come home second. Emotional deal, unbelievable.
You were running fourth when Jack was second, battling for the lead, and Jimmy Hensley was right on your back bumper. Now tell us what thought process you were going through with a 2-lap shootout as Fred Graves comes in here, and once again the emotion spills over. Tell us about those last 2 laps.
I'm not telling you about nothing because I don't remember them. All I know is Jack tried to get in front of that 50 truck. The 50 truck hit him. They both lost momentum. I about won the damn race, but you know what? All I do is finish second. When they said I had enough room behind me, I could have probably air loosed Jack and ran into it, but I'll tell you what, we need this championship more than that win. And I'll tell you what, Las Vegas, I finally led a lap here. What an awesome Chevrolet. These guys were just badass all day.
They call him a bulldog, and now we know why. Rick?
We are here with Jack Sprague. Jack Sprague, you know you had to give it everything you possibly could, and I got to tell you, in that last lap, you sure did.
Well, we had no choice. We had to win the race, and you know, I got beside Biffle for the lead, and he just slammed me. And then once I got by him, he moved over and let Ron go. The young man's got a lot to learn. He don't know a whole lot about racing apparently, but you know, that's the way it goes, and you know, the way it looked, if we won the race, we were going to be all right, but he moves over and lets him go. You know, I don't understand. He's going to be in this situation one day, and he don't have a lot of friends as it is, so. But I'm not complaining. I'll tell you, this Team JMAC crew did a great job all year. Appreciate the sponsorship, Team JMAC, AC Protection Plan, Quaker State Chevrolet, Rotary Lift, Haas Machinery. Especially like to thank Rick Hendrick. You know, I know he's probably a little dejected right now, as I am, but you know, we had a great year, 5 wins, and we knew we had to win the race, and we went after it.
He gave it all he could today. He did at least win the race. Just couldn't quite make that championship.
That's the hardest interview you ever have to do, when you do everything that you possibly can and you still come up 3 points short.
Yeah, I've been in a situation like that before. I know exactly what he feels like. You know, tomorrow he'll feel a little bit different. They'll be glad the whole season's over. He has nothing at all to hang his head in shame about. He did everything he could do. His crew did all they could do. Fantastic year for Jack Sprague.
Greg Biffle will be your Cintas Rookie of the Year as he finishes 5th overall. And as we look down through the unofficial results and pick out your favorite driver, we want to thank our crew. I tell you what, they had 40-mile-an-hour winds to deal with today, folks, and the cameras weren't shaking hardly at all. I don't know how they must have super glued their feet to the roof and to all their positions. Great shots, guys. You didn't miss a thing. That was a spectacular race for all of us to be a part of. We hope that you have enjoyed it as well. Here are the final points tabulated. 4,072 for Ron Hornaday, just 3 back. Jack Sprague, Joe Ruttman solidly in 3rd, Jay Sauter, Tony Raines, Jimmy Hensley, Stacy Compton, and on down the list. Championship coverage next Sunday, Busch Series, Jiffy Lube 300. We'll crown another champion there, 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Then on the November 22nd, the Dash Series and the All-Pro Series. For Dorsey Schrader, Rick DeBrule, Gary Gerald, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much. This has been an ESPN presentation, a worldwide leader in sports.